If you don't mind, you can go to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, for our program of events, we're going to begin with our opening remarks. We have two of our SP leaders in the house that will be giving the opening remarks. Of course, you should have met me by now. I already introduced myself. I'm your moderator. Then we quickly look at the debating rules and the judging criteria, and we will meet our judges and meet the various teams that will be debating. I wonder who can guess who the teams are, but of course, my background would have given it away. Lagos and Benin will be debating today, and would go into the debate session proper. But before we begin, I just want to ask who has been following the various debates. You can just drop a chat. You have been following the debates. So far, so good. I have been part of most of the debate sessions, and I have to say that the arguments have been quite intriguing. And sometimes the debate can get quite intense, and you're just wondering who is going to win. I know that today's session will be nothing short of that. All right, so quickly, we're going to move on to take the opening remarks. Wale, please confirm if we have any of the SP leaders on the call to take the opening remarks.
Okay, so they've not joined in yet, so we can skip that and take that later. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So we'll skip the opening remarks for now until we have any of our leaders, either our ARD or our council chair present. Then there's meet the moderator. I already introduced myself earlier, but for the sake of those that are just joining, I mentioned that my name is Emanuela Agbo. But if you hear anybody say Ella, that could be me. I work as a project engineer in Renaissance Africa Energy Company, formerly known as the Shell Petroleum Development Company. And I'm part of the Port Harcourt section in Nigeria. Thank you. And I'm pleased and humbled to be your moderator for today. So moving on, we're going to go right on to the debating rules. I asked earlier if anyone has been following the debates. The very first debate we had was with Lagos, and I'm not sure what other section that was, but it was a really interesting debate. And I know that we are going to have an equally interesting debate today. Um, First of all, once again, it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to what promises to be a dynamic and a thought-provoking session, a debate between SPE Lagos and SPE Benin session. Two cities, two sections with no shortage of passion, talent, and brilliant minds. I'm sure you're going to attest to that once we begin the debate. Quickly, we'll look at the debate rules. If you have been joining these sessions, you should be no stranger to this. For the time allocation, the lead debater has 5 minutes, and the supporting and closing debater has 3 minutes. So in all, each team should have 5 debaters, but would have 3 out of the 5 debaters presenting. And after each debate, would have the opposing debates, that's either the
No,
proposing or
Okaste,
those that are against.
look at the
Please, for ground rules, if you're not speaking, kindly mute your mic and also turn off your camera. Thank you. So after each debate, the opposing team would have 45 seconds for cross-examination. But questions and answers are limited to just the judges, and each of the judges have maximum of 3 questions to ask, and you would have 45 seconds to respond. Please, I want to ensure that for those of us that will be debating, your speeches adhere to um, the criteria that has been set up for, especially particularly for the time allocation. Moving on to the judging criteria, please ensure that you'll be judged rather based on the clarity of your debates, your presentation skills, your persuasiveness, of course, the analysis or the thought process behind your arguments, the evidence, and of course the relevance of your debate. So these are the things that our judges will be using to judge you by. I also want to add that ensure, like I mentioned earlier, that your speeches adhere to these criteria in order to score the maximum points. And please, all the debaters ensure to adhere to the rules of fair play and sportsmanship. Use respectful language and maintain decorum. No use of derogatory words or no personal attacks is going to be condoned. Also, for the various debaters, I want to remind you rather to turn on your video while you're debating. It's really important that you turn on your video. So it's not going to be allowed for you to be speaking without your video on. Then any misconduct whatsoever, you're using maybe derogatory language, or you're being aggressive or personally attacking the opposing team, it could result in reduction of your points or possibly disqualification depending on the gravity of the offense. Um, like I mentioned earlier, the lead debater has 5 seconds, and the other debaters following the lead debater have 3 minutes rather each. But a grace period of 10 seconds will be added to your debate. And if you exceed that, you would your points will be deducted. So moving on quickly, we're going to meet our judges. Um, I'm familiar with some of our judges. For instance, Ella is from my section, and I've worked with her. And we also have other amazing judges that will be judging the debate today. So Ella Muzan, she is a senior development planner with Renaissance African Energy Limited, and she's also the technical information chair for SPE Port Harcourt session. She has over a decade of experience in asset management, project delivery, exceeding about 300 million, 600 rather $1 million. And she's currently assisting the front end project lead at Renaissance. Um, she is an active member of SPE, and she has held various leadership roles across her local section, the her national section, and across um, the continent too. So please, Ella, if you're on the call, I want you to turn on your video and say hi to the house.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Happy to be here and looking forward to an exciting debate session today.
Same here, same here. Good to have you as one of our judges here today. Okay, so our next judge, we have Abdul Hamad Raji. He's a chartered engineer and an experienced energy specialist and researcher, recognized as the 2025 Young Professional Innovator. We have amazing judges in the house. I should add that. Recently, he co-founded a young professional network in one of the regions in the UK and has been an active member of the engineering committee for more than half a dozen years. Under his leadership, he has driven countless initiatives debate topic. If you're on the call, kindly turn on your camera and say hi to the house. Hello, do we have him on the call? All right. Seems
Yes, I
okay, I
think
can
he's
see
speaking,
him.
but
I
we
can
can't
actually
we can't
see
hear him.
him. Yeah. Okay. Good to see you, sir. We're going to go to our next judge. We're moving on to our next judge. So our next judge is Edna Michelle. Biso Bimba. Okay, there's a lag from my own end. She was born in Libreville, Gabon, and she's a petroleum engineer with academic credentials from Clausthal University of Technology, Germany, and ENSG, France. She began her career as a simulation and operations reservoir engineer, contributing to the Middle Plate oil field. Currently, she is the head of reservoir services at Harbour Energy, leading geoscience, digital rocks, core analysis, and core flooding projects. She is an active member of SPE at the regional and international level, where she promotes technical excellence and collaboration. And she also happens to be the chairperson of SPE Germany since 2023. Good to have you, Edna. If you're on the call, kindly turn on your video and say hi to the house.
Hi everyone. Hi Manuela for the introduction. Happy to be here and looking forward to this debate.
I want everyone to drop a clapping emoji for all our judges. We have fantastic judges in the house, and I know that they're going to judge this debate rightly so. Okay, moving on. We are at the quarterfinals, and the debate is between SPE Lagos and SPE Benin-City. Funnily enough, or coincidentally, these sections are somewhat close to each other in proximity for those of us that live outside of Nigeria. So today we're going to be diving into a topic that sits at the intersection of technology, innovation, and the future of the Africa's energy sector. Our debate topic for today is digital transformation, and artificial intelligence are crucial to driving innovation and efficiency in the energy sector, and should be the highest priority for Africans' young energy leaders within the next decade. Let's be honest, this is not just a debate topic, it's a challenge, a question of priorities. Do we bet on AI and digital tools now? Or do we focus on more pertinent issues or our other fundamentals issues first, like energy security, access, infrastructure, and policy? Our debaters would help us explore that further. So I will rightly ask if we have we'll quickly introduce the debaters rather. So let us meet our debaters. Trust me, these are brilliant young professionals that are here to argue their case. Great. So we have Lagos. So Lagos is the economic powerhouse of Nigeria and serves as the commercial and financial center of the country. For those of us that will be coming to Nice, you're going to visit Lagos and you enjoy Lagos. Their YP strength is over 180, and they are famous for being loud. That's the Lagos city. Well, let's quickly meet our team members. Do we have them on the call? Do we have Ako Onyekachuku Nancy? Please, if you're on the call, kindly unmute, turn on your video. At this point, I want all the debaters, especially those of them rather that we are currently introducing, to turn on their videos. Great. So Nancy, if you're on the call, kindly introduce yourself.
Hi, can you hear and see me?
Okay, are you using Ife Amos rather?
I'm using Janet Zaga.
Okay, I can see Chiamaka. Okay, Chiamaka is the last person turned on. For some reason, maybe because of my screen, I can't see you for now. Then we have Jesu Bobo Benjamin. Please confirm that you're on the call by introducing yourself.
Me
Brief
loud and clear.
introduction, please. Okay.
Okay.
Just introduce yourself, your name and what you do.
Okay, my name is Jesu Bogo Benjamin, and I'm a recent chemical engineering graduate from Lagos State University. Thank you.
All right, great. Then we have Gifts Jesulayomi Odige. Quickly introduce yourself.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Gift, just like me or DJ. I am a crude officer with Sterling Exploration Company. However, I will not be presenting today. There's someone else
Okay, I
that
guess
pretend.
that's why your camera is turned off.
Yes,
Okay, then
yes.
we have Open Room in Homa Merits.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Is she present?
Yes,
Good
I'm
afternoon.
present. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Opurumi Homa Merit, and I work as a network surveillance analyst. And I won't be
Okay,
presenting today.
noted. All right, last but not the least, we have Chiamaka Roots.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is
Please
Ruth
kindly introduce yourself.
Onwareze.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Chamaka Ruth Onwareze. I'm going to be the first at this debate, and I am currently a graduate engineer at Aqua Earth Consulting. I'm very thank you.
Great. Okay, nice to meet you, Lagos team members. We are going to move over now to the Benin team. All right. So Benin is the capital of the historic Benin Kingdom and one of the most sophisticated pre-colonial African empires. They equally have as much YP strength as Lagos section, and we're going to be meeting the team members. Please, if you're presenting, remember to turn on your camera. So we begin with Elizabeth Obode. Kindly introduce yourself.
So hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth Obode, Strategy Advisor for Energy, Industry and Minerals, and I'm glad to be here.
Good to have you too. Ruben Omoko.
Good evening, Ma. Good evening, Ma. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, we can hear you clearly.
All right. I'm Ruben Moko from Petroleum Engineering Department, Benin-City section, University of Benin.
Okay, great. Then we have Cherub Henry. Is Cherub present?
Oh, okay. Ella, I don't know if you're notified. So as a matter of
Okay,
she
Eze
will be
Madabuchi will
speaking for Cherub and Ademola
okay.
yes, for
Okay,
Cherub,
Madabuchi, you can just
yes.
introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is Eze Madabuchi, and I'm a petroleum economist with NNPC in Benin.
Okay, great, thank you. Ade Damola Ajayi.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is
Good
Adidama
afternoon.
Ajayi. Yeah, I'm a production operator with NNPC Benin.
All right, good to have you. Um, I think that's all from our various teams. So we're going to go right to the debate. We have Lagos starting first because they will be proposing, and we have Benin that would counter their argument as they will be speaking against the topic. Um, Ajayi, Wale, can you help us share the timer? Let me know if that is possible, or I will just try to share from my end. Okay, so I would share the timer from my own end. Kindly know when you can see my screen. We'll have the first speaker. Who is the first speaker for Lagos?
Chiamaka Onwareze.
Okay, Chiamaka, please, you have 5 minutes. Once
Okay.
you see the timer, you can begin, or once the timer starts, you can begin. Apologies for that. So 5 minutes on the clock. Chiamaka,
Ladies and
over
gentlemen,
to you.
esteemed judges, fellow and future energy leaders, good day. Let me tell you about a man named Musa in Kano. Every day he opens up his shop with hope, but too often power cuts shut down his machines and silence his dreams. This isn't just Musa's problem, it's Africa's energy. Despite our vast resources, sun, gas, wind, people remain in the dark. Why? Because the harsh reality is that our energy systems are broken. That is why today we affirm the motion that digital transformation and artificial intelligence are crucial to driving innovation and efficiency in the energy sector and should be a priority for Africa's young energy leaders this decade. Let's first clarify a few key terms. Digital transformation is the integration of digital technologies into every part of the business to change how we operate and deliver value. Artificial intelligence, moving forward referred to as AI, refers to machines that simulate human intelligence, learning, thinking, and solving problems. My first point in support of this motion is that digital transformation enhances energy access. In places and cities like Mubi, northern Nigeria, where over 250,000 people suffer daily blackouts, AI can power change. With limited grid infrastructure, Mubi relies heavily on expensive diesel generators. Imagine if Mubi had an AI-powered solar mini-grid. AI could predict energy demand, optimize solar power distribution, and monitor panel health outages. These systems can keep clinics running and small businesses like Musa's thriving, even after the sunset. This is a reality some of our neighbors already live in. For example, has AI-powered mini-grids, which already served so many off-grid communities. Scale such solutions across Africa, millions of people can get access to reliable and clean power. My second point is that artificial intelligence drives efficiency while reducing costs and waste. Nigeria loses over $1 billion yearly to oil theft. Gas is flared instead of being captured, and our 40% of the electricity it transmits. Artificial intelligence can help with that. Systems can use AI to pinpoint pipeline breaches in real time, which drastically minimizes potential waste. And let's talk about energy companies which already have these technologies. Shell Nigeria saved over $21 million using AI to predict equipment failures and to optimize drilling. These tools can be deployed everywhere, making our infrastructure smarter, safer, and more productive. Ladies and gentlemen, is job creation and capacity building. Some fear transformation will replace people. The truth is that it empowers us. Africa's energy challenges may seem daunting, but through digital transformation, we have the opportunity to bridge the gap and create more jobs for our youth. The Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board Act, the NCDMB Act, prioritizes indigenous players in energy exploration and production, and presents an exceptional opportunity for local talent to have the first chance to innovate in the sector, building sustainable skills for the future. Gratefully, we already have programs like these in Nigeria. The Energy Academy, already equipping young professionals with digital management, energy, including AI and smart grid technologies. With initiatives which prioritize local talent, we are not just using energy, we are owning it. To conclude, Africa's energy future isn't just about keeping the lights on. It's about shining brighter through artificial intelligence, digital transformation, and the brilliance of its youth. Like how we skip landlines for mobile phones, Africa has the opportunity to leapfrog inefficient energy systems and leap with the future powered by smart, sustainable solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, digital transformation isn't a luxury. It is the accelerator for every other solution. Thank you.
Right on time. Thank you very much, Chiamaka. I'm going to ask the Benin-City debaters if anyone wants to cross-examine the Lagos debater.
Awesome, Chiamaka, your points were spot on. But I do have one question. When there's no infrastructure, doesn't AI just become a reporting tool for failures? Thank you.
It is interesting that you bring up that point, and I thank you so much for that question. However, can exist at once. We can develop infrastructure while also prioritizing artificial intelligence and digital transformation. We wait years and years. We didn't have to wait years and years for our infrastructure to get before we onboarded before we improved our telecommunications in Nigeria and brought about mobile phones. And as such, I say to you that two things can be right at once. But however, we can all go straight into smarter systems while also prioritizing infrastructure. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Chiamaka. So we're going to go to the first speaker of the opposing team, that's Benin. They will be speaking against the topic. So I believe the lead debater is Liz. So Liz, over to you. I'm going to be sharing my screen once again. So once the timer starts, you start. Over to you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Elizabeth Obode, representing the SPE Benin section, and I'm here to oppose the motion that digital transformation and artificial intelligence should be the highest priority for Africa's young energy leaders within the next decade, even though it does give some efficiency. To begin, let us set the context with a story. A tech company donates a smart fridge to Mama Tunde to help her reduce food wastage. It sends alerts, it tracks food freshness, and it even talks. But by day 2, the fridge has no power, and Mama has no patience. By day 3, the fridge is being used to store firewood. When there is no light, intelligence becomes inconvenience. In the next few minutes, I would like to show you why our position is superior. First, the lifeblood of artificial intelligence is electricity. Without reliable, accessible, and affordable power, even the most advanced digital tools become nothing more than idle codes. AI systems require constant connectivity, data processing, and hardware functionality, all of which critically depend on stable electricity. In Nigeria, where over 85 million people still lack access to electricity, this is according to the World Bank, and power outages is 640 times per year per household, the very foundation needed to sustain digital transformation is still being built. According to the IEA, Africa produces only 3% of total electricity generated globally. China as a country produces 30%, US produces 15%. 5 countries produce more electricity than the entire continent of Africa. You cannot run cloud servers on candle lights. Secondly, prioritizing AI and digital transformation in Africa's energy sector without first addressing foundational educational disparities could deepen existing inequalities. According to the World Bank, only 11% of Africa's tertiary education graduates have formal digital training, thus limiting the pool of youth equipped for digital roles. Also, approximately 60% of Africa's population remain offline despite mobile broadband coverage. If we prioritize AI and digital transformation, we risk building a future where progress keeps the very people it was meant for. If more than half your population cannot join the digital race, it is not progress, it is a tech show for the few. Thirdly, AI is only good as the data, and Africa does not own enough of that data yet. Artificial intelligence runs on data. Algorithms learn from what we feed them, and in Africa's case, what we feed them is either insufficient, incomplete, or is imported. Additionally, less than 1% of global data centers in the world are located in Africa, and this is according to the World Economic Forum in 2023. As a result, when Africa tries to apply AI tools, it ends up relying on models trained on Western data that reflects different climates, different infrastructure, different behaviors, and different economic systems. You cannot train African solutions with European data. Finally, the opportunity cost of focusing on AI for Africa is just too high. Globally, the infrastructure required to support AI is projected to demand 5.2 trillion by 2030, and this is from a McKinsey study that was released last year. Every dollar spent chasing cloud platforms risks diverting critical resources away from physical infrastructure like grid expansion and rural electrification. Africa does not need to catch up. It needs to build a foundation. Until the basics, electricity access, internet penetration, local skills, and infrastructure are in place, what we have is that prioritizing AI is not a leap forward, it is a leap over the real problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liz. Do we have cross-examination from the legal section?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much, Liz, for your speech. It was articulate. But I would like to say that one of the reasons that we don't have electricity or we're struggling with energy access, and as such, we cannot AI. I agree with that. That makes sense. It is true that we are struggling with electricity. However, artificial intelligence and digital transformation, it's not a luxury after electricity, but it can be a tool electricity faster, cheaper, and smarter. There are communities in Kenya that are already on AI-powered mini grids, and so-called they do not have access to such electricity that you speak of. Now, saying that we don't have power and as such we cannot use digital transformation, artificial intelligence, it's like saying we don't have roads and so we don't need to build cars. But cars are exactly why we make better roads. Now, AI is an engine that can help us build the future of power access. And so it's not the reward that we get after that development. Thank you.
Okay,
Chiamaka,
Liz, would you want to respond to that?
Yeah, so Chiamaka, I love the way you frame this context with the roads and the car, but I would like to draw your attention to a specific angle that is particular to AI and digital transformation. And the idea is that AI and digital transformation itself requires electricity. So the road can be independent of the car, but AI cannot be independent of electricity. Digital transformation cannot be independent of electricity or the data centers that make them work. So much so that in this case, it becomes a prerequisite, unlike the example you gave for the road and the car. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. When we began the debate, I remember asking if anyone had been following through with the debate since we started. I, for one, have been following. And I want to say that I don't envy the judges at all because Lagos and Benin are very two strong teams. And both lead debaters have put forth strong arguments. So stay tuned. I believe that we are up for a very intense and interesting debate. So for the proposing team, second speaker, are you ready?
Yes, yes, I am.
Great. Kindly ensure that you have your camera turned on. Do you have it turned on?
Yes, I do. Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you. So I'm going to click the start button and you go. Go.
All right. The future belongs to those who prepare for it today. Malcolm X. So my colleague has established that digital tools are not about modernizing or modern luxury. It is about survival, growth, and leadership in the energy landscape. I would like to address some of my opponents' claims. My opponents' claim are truly valid to some extent. Ironically, AI and digital transformation are there to solve much of the problems or much of the resistance that has been stated. So I heard my opponents mention the problem of electricity, internet access, educational disparity, and African data. A clear example, M-Copper in Kenya used AI and digital transformation to light up 1 million plus homes. Digital transformation and AI do not have to wrestle with infrastructure. In fact, digitalization has helped build infrastructure smarter and faster. Rwanda is a very good example. They used GIS-based mapping to reduce rural grid expansion time by 40%. I would also like to address the claim of my opponent that digitalization causes educational disparity. These same digital tools that you say cause educational disparity are what we need to enhance education. I would also like to mention about digital transformation and artificial intelligence running on data. This is exactly why it needs to be prioritized. Instead of seeking help from abroad, as you mentioned that this would be Western based, we have examples of Google Lab in Ghana that are training models based on African data. Now, if we begin to prioritize digitalization and artificial intelligence, investment in training and upskilling will come in. So when we say we're prioritizing digitalization and artificial intelligence, we are saying we are bringing all the needed resources. We are saying we are calling all the stakeholders needed to make this happen, because digital transformation and artificial intelligence is here to solve our problems. It is even solving the problem of pipeline vandalization and oil theft. Using IoT sensors, satellite mapping, and machine learning algorithms, we are seeing improvement in other nations of the world. And I tell you, it can also be applied in African nations if we would just turn our attention to what we need to do to make this work. instead of discussing reasons it should not work. The digital transformation and artificial intelligence is here to make what we have better, not to compete with infrastructure. If Africa prioritizes digital transformation and artificial intelligence, we will not only survive, but we would lead in the energy sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lagos. Any cross-examination from the Benin section?
Yes, I do have one question. And thank you so much for your great points. And I love the example about M-Copper that's in Kenya that you've mentioned. But then their cloud infrastructure, data storage, and analytics pipeline are dependent on AWS, Google Cloud. So if we don't own the engines, the data, or the decision, are we really transforming digitally, or are we just users, another cost center? Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that observation. Like I mentioned, I'm trying to turn our attention to what we need to do to make this work and not talk about reasons why it should not happen, because we see that this is the progress that we need, right?
All
I
right.
would also like to add that since we are talking about data, if we continue waiting until we get the right tools, we need AWS cloud and everything, we would never make progress. We'll continue delaying it and we'll never have data to now do these things. So the earlier we start incorporating data into what we are doing, maximizing it, we'll be able to leapfrog and make developmental changes in our nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. To our judges, please. Actually, the cross-examination was right on time. I started the timer here at 35, and I added an extra 10 minutes on my phone, so they were just on time. Okay, so we'll move on to the second debater from our Benin section. They are going to be opposing the motion, as we have already observed. Okay, so second speaker, are you ready? I believe that will be Ajayi.
Yes.
Great. So Ajayi, your time starts now.
According to the Oxford English Dictionary, to innovate is to make changes in something established, especially by introducing new methods, ideas, or products. Artificial intelligence is itself an innovation. Whilst the adoption of innovations like artificial intelligence can drive other innovations and efficiency, what is more important and should be Africa's highest priority is to create an environment that fosters innovation. An environment that will see Africa's young leaders at the forefront of inventing new technologies and not merely adopting them. The question before us, ladies and gentlemen, is, do I spend $10,000 training a graduate on artificial intelligence, or do I spend the same amount training 10 students through primary and secondary school? That is priority. I believe the latter is more important. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adidamola Ajayi, and I'm here to tell you that while my opponents have made decent points about the power of artificial intelligence and digital transformation, they have placed the cart far ahead of the horse. It's like pressing the accelerator of a car that has not even started moving. Firstly, Elizabeth, our first speaker, has clearly shown that the underlying infrastructure for the proper use of artificial intelligence are nascent or non-existent in Africa. Beyond poor education and unreliable electricity, we grapple with basic challenges like food and water shortages, insecurity, and inadequate supply chains, which directly affect the energy industry. Prioritizing AI now would only exacerbate these issues, with supposed efficiency gains being lost to vandalism, theft, and logistical delays. Secondly, there's a growing notion, just like my opponents have stated, that African youths will miss out if they don't immediately embrace AI. Let's resist the urge to chase shiny objects. Global powers racing in AI already possess stable infrastructure, massive capital, and robust tech ecosystems. Adopting their solutions built for their own context will not work effectively in Africa. Instead, we'll remain dependent on them for support and upgrades, just like the AWS example. Our priority must be investing in the education and infrastructure that will empower Africans to participate meaningfully in the technology space. Prioritizing AI before solving foundational issues risks creating Ellis bubbles and leaving millions behind. Against innovation, we are against misplaced priority. Because when you focus on machine learning before human learning, what you are really doing is automating exclusion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ajayi. Right on time. Any cross-examination from colleagues in Lagos?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, go on.
Who will be cross-examining the opposing team?
Thank you so much, Adedamola, for that speech. It was really brilliant. You mentioned that to train, take the $10,000 and train 10 students. What is the future of 10 students that are trained in a world that is prioritizing AI and digital transformation in this case? This is why we need to prioritize AI and digital transformation. Infrastructure in hand. We can have infrastructure and then we can also prioritize AI and digital transformation in order to bring up this infrastructure. These two go hand in hand. And I would just, like to ask that question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So again, I would emphasize the point that spending that $10,000 on one person, right, would continually increase the divide. Like I said, this person is already a graduate, right? And you're not spending extra money to further refine his or her skills and leaving 10 other children behind. The difference between our climb and other climes is the education of the general populace has already been taken care of, which is not the case in Africa, with so many children still left out of school. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ajayi. So we're going to go back to the proposing team, that is Lagos, to hear from the closing debater. Can I have the closing debater turn on her camera? Thank you very much, Nancy. Nancy, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Hope you can hear and see me, please.
Perfect. We can hear and we can see you. So over to you, Nancy.
Ladies and gentlemen, AI and digital transformation are not just beneficial, they are essential for Africa's energy future. Now, our opponents argue that we must first focus on basic infrastructure. And yes, infrastructure is important, but in this rapidly evolving world, can we really afford to build that foundation without embedding intelligence from the very start? It's like building a new car in 2025 and skipping the GPS and safety feature. Sure, it moves, but are we truly maximizing its potential? Let's look at how digital transformation is already changing lives. Remember when finding the best pizza meant walking around, trying different shops, and getting disappointed? Now, with just your phone, you click reviews, see photos, and place an order. That is what AI is currently doing for the energy sector. It helps us find the best solutions to power our continent. Let's face facts. Africa's energy sector, especially in West Africa, is still largely analog and our systems are outdated. I've experienced these inefficiencies personally. For my final year project on the bioremediation of oil spills using agro-based materials, I struggled to access historical spill data. Most of it were on paper, or worse, completely lost. This lack of data delayed and limited the scope of my study, as I found it nearly impossible to efficiently model the adsorbent for real-world application, thereby defeating the actual aim of the project. Now imagine if I had access to AI-powered databases and tools. I would have provided a cheap and efficient solution to water pollution for the locals affected. AI gives us vision. It empowers us to see patterns, predict failures, and design smarter systems. In ESG reporting, where transparency is now a global standard, AI can unify data from oil rigs, satellites, and reports. Machine learning flags anomalies. Combined with blockchain, data becomes tamper-proof, restoring investors' confidence. Picture this, a pipeline leak near Port Harcourt. Traditional system may take days to respond, but with AI-powered tools, it detects it in minutes. That is not just tech, that is protecting lives, land, and livelihood. AI also drives predictive analytics, identifying vulnerable zones before disaster strikes. Now, let's also talk about education. Students are now using AI for energy optimization, health tech, and climate modeling. That is how nations leapfrog, by embedding technology in learning. If we want African engineers to solve African problems, we must digitally empower them. We need AI labs, simulation tools, and smart systems in our schools. Some will say AI is too expensive, but what is truly costly is inaction. What is complex is cleaning spills and fighting vandalisms. Let's be clear. AI is not a universal tool. It is available to Africa, and it is time we made it work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Right on time. I'm quickly going to move on to our colleagues from Benin. Any cross-examination for the Lagos section?
Yes, please. Thank you very much, Nancy. Very interesting points you've raised. So my question is this. You said that imagine in 2025 building a car without GPS system. So my question is, first of all, do we build cars at all in Africa? Because what we're proposing is to create an environment where Africa even builds cars. But what it seems like you're proposing is to position Africa to keep importing and depending on other climes for its technology.
All right, Nancy, you can clarify.
Thank you so much for that. Now, I'm not trying to say that we have to depend on importation. What I am saying is, okay, you talked about the building of cars. Take, for example, Innocent's Motors are currently building cars in Nigeria. And what I said about using GPS and without using GPS, I'm saying that with AI tools, the infrastructures we already have in place, we can make them better. We can make them faster. People are building cars. In my university, students build cars. But if we wait until, if we have to always depend on foreign countries to get the best form of technology, we will continue walk slowly, and we will never be able to make transformative changes that would even impact individuals in our continent.
All right, thank you very much.
Just a clarification, Innocent assembles cars, they don't build it from scratch, and that's what we're trying to address. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ajayi. Let's watch out for time, please. Okay, so we would move over to the opposing team, which is the Benin section. From their closing debater, Madabuchi, to hear why we should not prioritize AI and digitalization. Okay, are you ready, Madabuchi?
Yes, when you're ready.
I'm ready. Over to you.
Okay, good afternoon, esteemed judges, fellow debaters, and distinguished audience. My name is Eze Madabche, and I here stand not against innovation, but prioritization that reflects Africa's true energy realities. Our first speaker laid the foundation with clarity and courage. She reminded us that over 600 million Africans still live in darkness, and in such a reality, placing AI ahead of fiscal electricity access is not innovation, it is misdirection. Let me be clear, artificial intelligence and digital transformation are powerful tools, quite all right, but in Africa's energy sector, they are not the highest priority and should not be treated as such. We've made this case not out of fear of technology, but from a grounded understanding of Africa's context. First, how can we even automate a system that doesn't exist at all? Grid collapses like the ones we've seen in Nigeria are not the result of poor software. They are the result of collapsed infrastructure. No AI algorithm can fix broken transformers or generate megawatts from nothing. You can't digitize darkness. Secondly, AI depends on things we simply do not have yet. Something like robust data, reliable power, and skilled digital talent. In their absence, investing heavily in AI becomes just an expensive distraction, a top-down solution to a bottom-up crisis. Thirdly, if AI worked perfectly, it will not address the core energy challenges we face in Africa. What AI program addresses pipeline vandalism in the Niger Delta? what neural network can secure investor confidence in unstable regions? AI can detect patterns, as my opponents repeated, but it cannot arrest politicians or stop pipeline vandalism. These are human, political, and structural issues, not coding problems. Meanwhile, other African nations are showing us the way. In Kenya, for instance, rural communities are being empowered through mini-grids and policy-driven energy reform, not robotics. In South Africa, on the other hand, despite having some of the continent's most advanced digital infrastructure, the nation still suffers from severe loading shedding. So the evidence is clear before us. AI is not the savior, it is access. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not visionary, but also be grounded. Let us not chase clouds, but when our communities need current. Africa first focus on access, infrastructure, and equity. Only then can digital tools truly empower us. Until that happens, AI is luxury, not a necessity. We urge you to look past the hype and prioritize what reality matters to Africa's young energy leaders, which is light in their homes, power in their hands, and digital dignity in their lives. Let us build power before we automate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Buchi. Any cross-examination from Lagos?
Yes, there is a cross-examination. Thank you so much, Madu Abuchi, for that very, very articulate and interesting. A lot of the points you mentioned are correct and are very for this debate. But I would like to ask, without digital monitoring, how do you propose that we detect all theft faster? I mean, if you say that we should fix first and then, tackle pipeline vandalism and so on and so forth, how do you intend that we detect these anomalies faster? Maybe in a scale of Nigeria's 5,000 kilometers of pipelines. Thank you.
I'd also like to add that Nigeria is losing up to 400,000 barrels of crude oil daily. If we wait to fix power first before doing anything about pipeline vandalism, what do you think would remain of the economy, as the energy sector is spoiling the economy? Thank you.
All right, sorry, that last comment came from who?
From Jesugogo, Lagos thing.
Jesse, oh, please, when next you're speaking, ensure to turn on your camera.
All right.
Okay, over to you, Benin.
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. So what we're talking about here is realities on ground, not proposed solutions that are not feasible. Why AI can detect patterns, AI cannot really arrest vandals. So the top leading security company we have when it comes to vandalism, Tantita, they are not actually deploying AI and are doing a very good work. And if you go to NNPC, which actually employ that contractor company, so their production that gets to where it's supposed to has truly increased over time, and they are not using. So what we're talking about is realities on ground that right now in Africa, why AI is crucial. Nobody is arguing that it is not a top priority. That's the argument. AI is not the top priority. Thank you.
Thank you, Madabuchi. All right, so we're going to move on to hear from our judges. The both teams have both argued very strongly as to whether we should prioritize AI and digitalization or we should focus on other issues affecting our energy climb in Africa. So I'll begin with our first judge, Ella Muzan. Gentle reminder, we have a maximum of 3 questions to ask the debaters, and debaters also remember that you have 45 seconds to answer your question. And please, if you're not speaking or if you're not a debater in this particular, please turn off your camera. Thank you. Over to you, Ella.
Thank you, Manuela, and thank you for the debaters. This has been a very interesting and captivating session. The debaters have come with great points and have made their case very well. I'd like to give it to you for how you presented your arguments. The facts that you brought in, the examples that you brought in helps to buttress your points. So thanks to you all for representing your section quite well, I would say. So I'll just have, I'll give, I have 2 questions, one for each section. And for Lagos section, indeed, you made your point. AI digital transformation helps to enhance energy access and talks about enabling energy security in Africa. And good also with your counter arguments to the Benin section. I just want to then throw the question to you. When Benin section talked about how we cannot have AI when we do not have stable electricity, how do you think AI can effectively function or effectively enable energy access where we do not have stable electricity? What are the things or the methods that we can leverage to ensure that AI is more effective in Africa? And then to Benin section, also good points on dealing with the fundamentals and ensuring that we build the foundation. But I just want to challenge you there because I think you're giving Africa, you're not giving Africa enough credit in terms of energy access in Africa. So, I mean, based on the statistics, we have about 48% of the population in Africa that have energy access. So that's not where we want to be, but it's not a ground zero, right? And so that is something we need to look out. And the energy industry, the oil and gas industry in Africa has been existent for over a century, and there's been developments in various phases. So that's something that we need to ensure that Africa is not left behind. So the question to you is, would you then say really that the foundations and the fundamental is not there for an industry that has been in place for centuries in Africa?
Okay, so we'll start with Lagos. You have 45 seconds to respond
Okay.
to.
Thank you so much for that question. You're absolutely right that artificial intelligence requires some function. But the key point here is that AI doesn't wait for the perfect power system. It can help us build a more reliable and realistic one. In fact, artificial intelligence is being used in Africa to improve access to power as we speak, especially in off-grid communities by using solar mini-grid. For example, AI can help us predict energy demand, forecast sunlight hours. Now that we're in a world where we want to improve our access to reliable and clean. Now, in rural Kenya and in Nigeria, I gave an example of Moody. Companies like M-Kopa and Lumos are using AI to deliver solar energy to places where the grid cannot reach. Now, it is AI that enables power access and not places where the traditional grid fails.
Thank you very much, Lagos. Slightly above time, but very, very apt. Okay, so I'll begin again. Please let's bear in mind that we have 45 seconds to answer. Okay, over to you, Benin.
So thank you so much to the judge for that question. So in terms of foundation and recognizing Africa's progress, yes, we do recognize that Africa has made great progress. But in the context of artificial intelligence and digital transformation, this tool is both an enabler and an electricity guzzler in that sense. If you look at the estimated demand for data centers, so estimated demand of electricity for data centers projected in the world, you would see that this demand might be more than the electricity currently generated on the continent as a whole. So if we would prioritize artificial intelligence and digital systems, what we would do is to push people away from access. This is the core of our conversation, that we should prioritize this infrastructure. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. While we move on to the second judges, both responses went a little above the timing, so let's try to keep to time. Just a little, actually. All right, so I'll move on to our second judge, Raji. You can ask each of the sections a question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Perfect, we can hear you, Raji.
Awesome. So my question in this case was sort of like building a bit of context is if you're looking at the infrastructure that is needed to improve access and a lot of the energy demand and stuff that we need, then the infrastructure needs to come into play. However, some of the enablers is also AI and digital transformation. Now, there comes a balance or a tipping point where the infrastructure is almost as critical as the digital transformation and AI. So now my question for both sides is, in a case where you're suggesting that digital transformation and AI should be prioritized, what are some of the downsides that you could be looking at, right? Just mention maybe top 3 that comes into mind. And for Benin as well is, if you're saying that infrastructure needs to come into play as well, there are some of the enablers that need to come into that to actually put that infrastructure in the best foot forward. And one thing I usually say is, in terms of innovation, we've seen other places do something really nice, right? What are some things that we need to take from their playbook that we can quickly develop from our own local context, rather than using their own infrastructure? So just looking at, cutting across both sides is, there is a key part of the topic today, which is Africa's young energy leaders. Could you please say 1 or 2 sentences to touch on that a little bit more? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Raji. Over to you, Lagos. We'll start with Lagos.
All right. First, I'd like to say that prioritizing digital transformation means prioritizing everything else it is involved in. So if we prioritize digital transformation and artificial intelligence, it means we would also be prioritizing infrastructure, we would also be prioritizing education, everything it's involved in. And so the question is to mention some downside. So I feel some downside we might have is data bank. We don't have enough data bank, as my opponent has mentioned. But we can improve this. When we prioritize artificial intelligence, we can start to build data banks. Another downside we can have is policies to support digitalization and electricity, as we mentioned.
All right, thank you very much. There's also a question for Benin. So Benin, you can go right ahead to answer.
Awesome. Thank you so much. But Emanuela, I do not see the timer right now, so I don't know.
I'm going to be turning it on.
Okay. Okay, so awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Raji, for that question. And I understand that you want us to speak to the context of young energy leaders in Africa and what we should be looking out for in terms of AI and digitalization. So in our opinion, there are 2 key things that we should look out for. The first is actually global trends in terms of where energy is going and also the data criticality. So we don't want to post our information in places where we cannot be sure of the security. So whatever ecosystem would support housing information on the continent is something we should be prioritizing as young energy leaders. Secondly is the geopolitics of energy, which has not come into this conversation, but is something very critical. I'll stop there just because of time. Thank you.
It seems you're on mute, Emanuela.
Apologies, maybe someone mistakenly muted me. Okay, I say thank you to Lagos and Benin sections for answering the question. We're going to move on to our next judge, Edna. Please confirm that you can hear me.
I can hear you, Emanuela.
Okay, great. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to ask 2 questions to both sections. First of all, I would like also to echo what Ella was just saying about the feedback of the whole, of the whole debate. I'm totally impressed. It's my first time to attend such a debate, and I would just like to say congratulations to both of team. It was a pleasure really to listen to you and also to understand your point on the question and on the debate. So my first question to the Lagos section, you mentioned concrete example of application of AI as well as digital transformation. You mentioned, for example, Kenya as well as Rwanda. So do you have another example you can also brought here actually to, yeah, how should I say it? Another example in order to concretize actually the application of AI as well as digital transformation. I would be pleased to hear that. And to the Benin section, you mentioned that was really a strong sentence, right? That we cannot feed our models, so in Africa, the models with wrong data. So my question to you is, what would be your solution actually to this insufficient data as well as the wrong data we have currently in Africa? Thank you.
All right, thank you. As usual, we'll start with Lagos. So Lagos, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much for that question. I think another example I can bring, Total Energy is using IoT sensors to detect pipeline leakages. And that said, even this very platform we're using to host this debate is as a result of adopting artificial intelligence and digital transformation. Without it, we'd have had to transport different locations just to have this debate. But look at us now. We're able to share ideas and talk about our different point of views from the comfort of our homes because of digitalization. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I would
Okay.
also like to add that in Nigeria now, we are always talking about collapse of our national grid collapse. But with the use of AI, we can also have something called predictive maintenance, where before the grid collapses, we know about it and we can maintain it. We can fix the problem before it strikes so that we do not have outage of power in Nigeria as
Thank
often
you
as
very
we have
much,
it.
Nancy. Thank you, Nancy. Yeah. So I mistakenly turned off the time after the first person, so I was trying to gauge between both teams. Okay. So Benin, are you ready to respond to your question?
Yeah, so thank you so much, Edna, for that question as to where we can get the data for our own personalized AI models. So before digitalization and the systems as we know it now, we've been collecting data. Now, the best way to ensure that we can build a system for our future is to go back into our communities to get knowledge that we know is stored there in a process, have an infrastructure for storage, and then models that can build off of that. So information is critical, but not information as we might find just on Google. Information that sits in historical knowledge, even going to basically ages past. There are ways to get this information that can help us build our own personalized systems. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liz. I have to say that it has been I think the time
Don't
might
worry,
have.
I've seen I've run out of time. I was going to
Yes.
add, but
Yeah, we've run out of time. Okay. But regardless, it has been a fantastic exchange of ideas between the two sections. I want everyone to just indulge our debaters and judges by giving them a round of applause. You can use the Zoom feature. It has been a wonderful debate. While we're at that, I would want to ask our judges to kindly move to the breakout rooms where they would collate the results and we get to know who won these debates. So our judges, we can please move on to the breakout rooms. Okay. As our judges move on to the breakout rooms,
Emanuela, just a question. We're supposed to receive a request for the breakout, right?
Yeah, you should, but I think Ajayi, if he's on the call, he can actually, and Wale, I mean, if he's on the call, he can manually add you to the breakout rooms in case you
Okay.
don't receive a request. But let me see how I can provide support. Is Wale on the call? Okay, so I will try to assign our judges to the breakout room now. Just give me a moment. Okay. Apologies for the breaking transmission. I was trying to get our judges into the breakout room. All right. Um, I'd like to know, as we have heard the wonderful debate from our various debaters, Lagos and the Benin section debaters, I want to hear from our audience before we begin, and while the judges collate the results. Do you think AI, just a hypothetical question now, do you think AI would replace our field engineers in 10 years? I know that some of our servicing companies are already making use of AI. So what do you think? I just want to hear from the audience because we have been such fantastic audiences. So what are your thoughts on this? Just drop a just drop a chat. Just drop a chat. Then I move on to the next slide. Seems like my slide is not moving. I would try and share again. But just drop a chat on what you think about AI and the future, at least in the next decade. Give me a moment while I share my screen again. All right. Okay. I mentioned if you drop your thoughts in the chat box. I'm not seeing anyone there yet. I believe some people are typing. But we'll look at some energy quotes. So this energy quote is from David Attenborough, a naturalist and a broadcaster, a producer and narrator to numerous nature documentaries around the world. He says, "We are at a unique stage in history. Never before have we had such an awareness of what we are doing to the planet, and never before have we had the power to do something about it." Very true. Very true. Everybody is very much aware of how, and everybody's working towards preserving our planet and optimizing their operations to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So we have Nais coming up very soon in August. If you're excited about Nais, I want you to just use the Zoom feature and use the applause. Myself, I'm excited for Nais happening in August. If you're yet to register, take advantage of the early bird and register. So these are a few pictures from last year's Nais, and we're going to be having Nais coming up very soon in a few months' time. and it's equally going to be amazing. So try not to miss it. Great. So this was in 2022. They went to the Lekki Conservation Center where they did the canopy work. I'm sure people like myself that are scared of heights will not have been able to do this. Yeah, last year we also went to the beach. It was quite fun and also good to connect with other young professionals from around Nigeria. But now it's going to be from around Africa because we have our colleagues from Ghana, Congo, um, Nairobi, Uganda joining us. So try not to miss it, like I mentioned. Okay. Someone is saying AI cannot replace field engineers or work. It will replace those who cannot effectively use AI. Food for thoughts. So we'll move on to our next energy quotes by Darren Woods, the CEO of ExxonMobil. He says the oil and gas industry needs to do its part to address climate change. This means reducing greenhouse gas emissions, embracing renewable energy, and supporting a sustainable future. Very true. Okay. Of course, another nice flash. Oh, this was last year. This was last year. If you can recognize yourself on the screen, just drop a hey in the chat box. I can see myself, my very pretty self, wearing the red skirt and the yellow top. Yeah, I can't see any other person here that I recognize, but you can see that it's a lot of fun. So if you're missing Nice, that's you want to be Jackie at work. Come to Nice, learn about other things happening in the industry, and also get to connect with other colleagues. All right. Another energy quote we have one by Majora Kata, the founder of Sustainable South Bronx and Majora Kata Group. She says that we've got to decide what we want to live. We've got to decide that we want to live in a world that is sane, happy, and healthy, and that everyone deserves that. Yeah, we need to preserve the planet for our future generation. Okay. So I don't know if we have the judges back on the call. Let me quickly confirm. While I cannot see any of our judges present, I would continue to read quotes of whether. Okay, I see Ife Amos. She could recognize herself on the screen. Great. I would also read quotes from people that drop their thoughts on whether AI would replace field engineers in the future. So someone says, Pearl says, I don't think it's be competent enough to replace field engineers. Fantastic. Pearl, are you a field engineer? So we have Chidoze Agbo, who happens to share the same last name as I do, but he's not my brother. Says, I don't think so. He doesn't think that AI will replace field engineers. Just the way the carriage riders become car drivers, automobile didn't replace horse riders, jobs just evolve. And it will be the same with AI. So if you're ever wondering if maybe tomorrow AI will take over your job or you'll become redundant, due to the presence of AI, I think some of our young professionals have sort of encouraged us and dropped their thoughts on how AI will transform the future of work in the future of work rather. I still can't see any of our judges here. I think we should give them a few minutes or even less. They'll be joining us shortly. Just to add, by 4:30 we will be having debates by Port Harcourt and Ghana. They will be debating about their topic is somewhat around development. So if it's some around young professional development rather. So if it's something that you're interested to listen to, you can stay on the call while we transit to the next debate between Port Harcourt and Ghana. Well, yeah, sure. You can still drop your questions, um, or your comments rather, of the question that was asked, if AI is going to replace field engineers in the future. Okay, Pearl says no, not yet. Even though AI could be programmed with a lot of relevant data, I don't think it'll be able to think around circumstances and crises like a field engineer would. Very true. In a moment, we'll hear from our judges. But honestly, I think Benin and Lagos, they have put up very strong arguments to buttress their points. And like I mentioned, I don't envy the judges at all. I think they would really um, have to look in between the lines and the semantics to be able to give, yeah, to be able to give a credible judgment, because both teams have done well. And kudos to the teams too. Chidoze says that the judges are probably debating over their points. Rightly so, because they should have spent 5 minutes, and it's a little over 5 minutes. So yeah, the question is, who would judge the judges? Yeah, I forgot to mention earlier, the judgment from the judges are not to be contested. So the judges' verdicts are final, so nobody would be able to contest it. Or if you want to contest it, I will encourage you to go to court and maybe employ me as your lawyer. Yeah. Okay, James says AI is not going to replace humans, but humans with AI will replace humans without AI. Wow, touche. Okay, I'm officially the lawyer of anybody that would want to contest the verdict from the judges. Okay, so our judges will be joining anytime soon. I've gotten word from our YP chairperson, for our general YP chairperson, that they'll be joining the call soon. I will be getting the verdict. Wow, this is intense. You're not speaking, kindly mute. Let's just exercise more clear who our champions are. And might I mention that the champions will be moving on to the semi-finals. Yes, they're moving on to the semi-finals, where they would be debating either against Port Harcourt section or the Ghana section. So it gets more interesting and intense. I can see that the judges are deliberating really hard. So let me just put it out there. Whoever wins today's section or whoever doesn't win, just know that you put or whoever doesn't win this match, just know that you put up a very strong fight because for some time now our judges have been deliberating over the results, so you can tell that it was an intense debate. To have kept our judges this long deliberating on who the winner would be. So very, very fantastic debaters we have both from Benin and Lagos. Very fantastic debaters. All right. I think the verdict is out. Is anybody's heart beating? If you're hearing any sound like dudum, dudum, just know that you're hearing your heart beat. And I'm sure that it will be from the debaters. They're very curious to know who won. Okay. Wow. So give me a moment to update the the numbers, and in a few seconds we'll know who our winners are. Let me just know, who are you rooting for? Just drop the section you're rooting for in the chat box. Let me double check so we don't have a Steve Harvey moment here because that would be terrible. Okay, drop in the chat box, who are you rooting for? Okay, I really want to triple check because I don't want to be the new Steve Harvey. All right. Who are you rooting for? Because I'm about to display who the winner is in a few seconds. Confirm you can see my screen. Okay, I can see Benin, I can see Lagos. Who is it going to be? Drum rolls. Everybody drum rolls, drum rolls, drum rolls, drum rolls, drum rolls. And the winner is Benin-City section. Congratulations to our colleagues in Benin. It was a tough one, but Benin won with 81%. Very strong debates there. Lagos, you did fantastic. I'm sure the time it took the judges to deliberate is enough proof that you put up a very strong fight. All right, thank you very much. Congratulations, both teams. Congratulations to Benin. Congratulations to Lagos. Benin, see you at the semi-finals. That being said, it was a pleasure being your moderator for today. I hope I did justice to moderating this session. I would now hand over to the moderator for the next session, and the person of Rose Gekongi. All right, I'm handing over to her. Thank you. It was nice being here. Bye. Over to you, Rose.
Hello, everyone. Just give me a second to set up the presentation. Olale, your hand is up. If you can unmute and...
Yeah, thank you very much. So can you confirm you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, so apologies from the previous round. The network gave us some issues, so we spent some time in a breakout room. So before we move into the Port Harcourt, Ghana, so we just want to take very brief remarks by the judges, maybe just 30 seconds each to give their closing remarks just before we move into this. Thank you.
Okay. Maybe the...
Hello. Yeah. So Abdulhamid Raji here again. It was really tight call between both sections, Benin and Lagos. And we've come with our decision. The three judges were able to deliberate. But I would just like to say that both sections did their best, and thank you very much for debating and bringing your best foot forward.
Yeah, thank you. If the next judge can say something.
From my side, here is Edna Michelle Bisobimba talking from Germany. I would like, first of all, to congratulate both sections, right, for this debate, for the argumentations, as well as the exchange of ideas. It was, for me, I enjoyed the whole debate from the beginning until the end. So thank you so much for the preparation as well. Yeah, from my side, that is it, yeah. So to the next judge, Ella.
Hello, can you hear us? Hello. Olale, can you confirm?
Hear you.
Okay. Maybe the next judge can give their remarks.
Okay, Ella, are you still on the call? Okay, so I think we can I think maybe she's having some network challenge from her end. We can just move ahead to the next debate. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay,
I'm
okay,
here.
Ella, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we had a bit of a network issue earlier. I would like to take the remarks from our judges before we before we move on to the next section, actually. So we'll take from each of our judges. So I'll start with Ella Muzan. Feedback on the performance of the debate teams.
Okay, Ella, just to confirm, we are taking from Abdulhamid and also Edna. We're waiting for Ella Muzan to take hers. I think the network has been a bit
Okay.
terrible for this, but if we don't have Ella on the call,
We'll just move on to Raji.